because you're not seeking completion anymore, you're already complete. Now, this sounds wonderful in theory, and in many ways it is. There's a tremendous freedom in not needing others to validate your existence. But there's also a price. And the price is this: you can no longer play the old game. You can no longer pretend that the theatrical performances of conventional romance are real. You can't fake being swept away when you see too clearly how the sweeping is done. This is where the loneliness comes in. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. That's easy. You can sit by yourself for hours and feel perfectly content. No, this is a different kind of loneliness. It's the loneliness of seeing through a game that everyone else is still playing. It's like being the only adult at a children's party. The children are having a wonderful time. They're completely absorbed in their games. But you can't join them. Not because you don't want to, but because you can't make yourself believe the games are real anymore. You meet someone. They're attractive. They're interesting. They seem to like you. And in the old days, this is where the story would begin. The story of pursuit and conquest, of longing and fulfillment, of two people finding each other in the vastness of the world. But now you see the story before it even starts. You see how it will unfold. The initial intoxication, the gradual revelation of flaws, the negotiation of needs, the slow recognition that neither of you can give the other what they're really looking for, because what they're looking for doesn't exist outside themselves. And so you hesitate, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You cannot walk into a trap when you see it so plainly. You cannot drink the poison when you know what's in the cup. And this hesitation, this inability to throw yourself into the old drama, it sets you apart. Others sense it. They feel that you're not playing by the usual rules, and it makes them uncomfortable, or it makes them curious, but either way, it creates distance. Here's what nobody tells you about awakening. It raises the standard. Before, you might have been content with someone who made you laugh, someone who found you attractive, someone who filled the evenings with conversation. But now, that's not enough. You're looking for something else, something that has no name in the usual vocabulary of romance. You're looking for someone who has also seen through the game, someone who knows they are already whole, someone who isn't trying to use you as a missing piece in their puzzle. Because only then can you meet each other as you actually are, not as fantasies or saviors or solutions to loneliness, but as two expressions of the same reality, two waves that have both realized their ocean. And here's the difficulty. Such people are rare, extraordinarily rare. Most people are still caught in the old story. They're still looking for their other half. They're still trying to build their identity through relationships. They're still playing the game with deadly seriousness. And you can't blame them for this. You played it too, until you didn't, until you saw through it. But the fact remains, the field has narrowed considerably. Where once there were many possibilities, now there are few. Where once you might have fallen in love with someone's smile, or their wit, or their way of moving through the world, now you need something more. You need them to be awake, or at least awakening. You need them to know what you know, to see what you see. And that severely limits the options. This is why so many spiritually awake people find themselves alone. Not because they can't love, but because they can't love in the old way anymore. They've outgrown it. Like a child who has learned to read and can no longer find satisfaction in picture books. The old stories don't work anymore. They need something more substantial, something real. And sometimes, often actually, that something real doesn't appear. Years go by, you meet people, you have conversations, you feel connections, but none of them go deep enough. None of them touch the place where you actually live. And so you remain alone, not in bitterness, not in despair, but in a kind of patient waiting, waiting for someone who speaks your language, who breathes the same air, who has traveled to the same country you have and knows its geography. There's a certain dignity in this aloneness, a kind of integrity. You're not willing to settle for less than truth. You're not willing to go back to sleep just because sleeping is more comfortable. You'd rather stand in clarity, even if it means standing alone, than kneel in illusion with company. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. There are nights when the silence feels heavy, when you wonder if you've made a terrible mistake. When you look at people in their ordinary relationships, with all their ordinary dramas and compromises, and you think maybe that would be easier. Maybe you're asking too much. Maybe this clarity you've gained has cost you something precious. And you'd be right. It has cost you something. It's cost you the ability to be satisfied with illusion. It's cost you the option of using another person to avoid yourself. It's cost you the comfort of not knowing what you know. These are real costs.